Today's class is on the foundational programs. This covers the place everybody begins with the foundational programs. It doesn't matter whether you have a major disease issue or whether you just want to do some basic cleansing. The foundational programs need to be established and continue throughout the whole process of whatever work you're doing for yourself. So this is where everyone begins, regardless of the issues that you're dealing with. The three parts to the foundational program are Echinacea, Bowel Cleansing, and the food program. These are the three foundational things that need to be established and continued. And we'll start with Echinacea. That really is the crux to anything. And it is begun on day one of your program. Echinacea begins. Okay, what is Echinacea? Echinacea is an herb that boosts the immune system. And what that means is when you use Echinacea, you will be sending a chemical command to your immune system to produce more immune cells. One herbalist that I know talked about it like this. He says Echinacea is putting the key in the ignition of your immune system and turning it on. It just tells your body to make more immune cells. So when you use Echinacea, you are sending a chemical command to your immune system to produce more immune cells. The reason that this is so important and the reason we need Echinacea is when you are healing, your body is creating die-off. All the bad stuff is getting hopefully killed off and processed out of your system. So an immune cell has to attach each piece of waste that has been created and neutralize it so that your liver, your kidneys, the eliminative organs can pick it up and move it on out. If you don't, if the immune system does not neutralize that waste, then it gets reabsorbed. And when the waste is reabsorbed, you probably heard the term backlash or cleansing crisis. That's what that is. The backlash, the cleansing crisis come when you run out of immune cells, when you've used them all up and there's no more and all that waste that's being created is just being reabsorbed back in. So all that good hard work you're doing is just like naught. It's just being recycled right back into where it was. And that just creates, you can feel like you've been run over by a Mack truck. One way to tell that your immune system is not holding up is you will begin to feel detoxing symptoms such as achy feeling, like you're getting the flu. You'll start getting flu-like symptoms, or you'll stop feeling toxic, that toxic headache, things like that. Anything like that will tell you that your immune system is crashing and burning, that you do not have enough immune cells to detox and neutralize the waste that is being created. What we do, Echinacea, the way that we would want to dose Echinacea, for just a basic program, you're doing a basic cleansing program, you would take an ounce a day, 4 days each week. So that's a place to begin for minor cleansing. If you're doing major disease work, you jump right in an ounce a day, 6 days a week. And you take that at approximately the same time every day. So let's say that sometime in the morning, mid-morning, you take your ounce of Echinacea. It sends its chemical command to your immune system to produce more immune cells, and the ball is rolling. And so that's just one time a day, one thing you got to think about. There's a lot of stuff you have to think about doing the Incurables program. So you would start at the basic cleansing program is 4 days a week. You take it one time a day, try to keep it to that same time every day. Expect after you take it, when your immune system gets fired up, you will naturally begin to burn a little hotter. So it's not surprising when I take my Echinacea, I plan to take my shower afterwards because I get a little warm and a little sweaty. That's not unusual. When your immune system is flying, your temperature is going to elevate. When you take your echinacea, it is not unusual for a little warming of the system. I hate to use the word fever because it's not a negative thing, and fever is so associated with something negative. But when your immune system is flying a little faster and you've got more immune cells doing their thing, your temperature is going to rise. And we're talking just a low grade, 1 or 2 degrees. And you can cool yourself off pretty quick just by hopping in the shower and, doing your hot and cold, your hydrotherapy in your shower, and just get yourself cooled off. So for me, after I take my echinacea, I will usually take it before I take my shower, and then that just cools me off, and it's like no big deal. All right. Now let's talk about increasing. So you're using your echinacea, and maybe you're just doing a basic cleansing program, and you're just feeling a little off. So increase to an ounce a day, 6 days a week. Always take the Lord's Day off from your echinacea when possible. I mean, if you're talking a major flu, really serious infection work going on, you may not be able to. You may just have to take it straight through until you get on top of the infection or on top of the issue. But when you're just doing work to cleanse, healing a major disease, doing a basic cleansing program, take the Lord's Day off. Allow your body that 1 day to rest, because you're telling your body to build this thing, build this thing, build this thing, and it needs a day of rest from being driven to build more immune system. All right. So now you're up to 6 days a week. You're dissolving your tumors. You're clearing your cancer. You're doing major work. And an ounce a day is not enough. You're getting headachy, you're getting achy, maybe your mood is disintegrating, whatever it is that you feel toxic. So we're going to increase your echinacea by a tablespoon. So you're taking your ounce of echinacea in the morning, and you increase with an additional half ounce or tablespoon. There are 2 tablespoons in an ounce. So we're going to just knock it up another tablespoon and see if that supports you. If that doesn't, and you're going to take this in the evening. So you've got 12 hours between the 2 doses. So then knock it up another tablespoon in the evening. So you're taking a full ounce in the morning and a full ounce at night. See how that supports you. One of my favorite people, Jana Duffy, who does allow me to talk about her, I have her permission. She cleared lymphoma, and she was up to 2.5 ounces a day that she worked up to on echinacea, and that supported her while she was dissolving her tumors and getting the major work done in her issue. This was almost 20 years ago now, if I'm not mistaken. It's been quite a while. Raluca, I believe she was doing her work at the same time Doug was.
Yeah, he did in 2002.
2000. It's been almost 20 years since these two have cleared their lymphomas, and they're both still alive and both still doing great. I mean, life goes on, and natural healing does work. It does clear issues, and you can be well. But for her, she got up to 2.5 ounces a day, and I believe, I mean, give me a break, Jana, if you ever hear this. It's been 20 years. I believe she did it for 6 months, that she was at 2.5 ounces a day for around 6 months. So before she started cutting it back down. I could be wrong on that, but I know she was up there for a while. And the only side effect was she got well. So it was pretty good side effect. So you use the echinacea that you need. You take the Lord's Day off from the dosing to give your body a day of rest. Okay. Now the next question is, and this is going to get us into the food program, how do we support the echinacea? We support it with carrot juice. The beta carotene in carrot juice is vitamin A in the body, and vitamin A is what your immune system is built from. And yes, this is very, very elementary speaking on it. The first and the end of it is carrot juice gives you the raw material to build your immune system from, So your body is not robbing from Peter to pay Paul. You have got the raw material right there at cellular level for your body to build those immune cells. I suggest anywhere from 16 to 32 ounces a day of carrot juice. If you are doing major disease work, 32 ounces a day of carrot juice would be minimum. That would be a good idea when you're doing an ounce or more of echinacea a day to boost your immune system. So the way that you would want to do that is you just get your juicer out, you juice your 32 ounces of carrot juice, and then once you've got that juice, you can juice any veggies you want on top of it. So get your 32 ounces in your container, and then add your cabbage, your celery, whatever, beets, depending on your issues. In the foundational handout that is on the on my blog for today, there is a list in there. I can't find it quick enough. There is a list of juicing for different ailments in that handout. It comes from Dr. Christopher, and it's Dr. Christopher's chart or list of ailments and the juices that will support them. So when you're looking at that list, pay attention to the commas and the ampersand. Okay, if there is a comma, you do not mix fruits and vegetables in the same drink. You will end up gassy and miserable. It takes a different set of enzymes to digest fruits than it does veggies. So when you are juicing, you have your fruit juices and you have your vegetable juices, and the two do not mix, with one exception, and that's apples. Apples are digested by both sets of enzymes. So you can put apples in your veggie drinks, but that's the only exception. Otherwise, you're going to end up bloated and gassy and miserable on top of everything else you're dealing with. And if you're doing a good detox, you do not need any more drama. You're getting plenty. So do not mix your fruits and veggies. Give yourself at least an hour between your vegetable and your fruit juice drinks. The rule of thumb is fruit juice in the morning and vegetable juice in the afternoon. The fruit juice gives you a bigger pickup, and this is providing you're not diabetic. If you're diabetic, give me a call. We'll talk about that and provide some support for herbally supporting your blood sugar so that you can do the program you want to do. But as a rule of thumb, it's fruit juices in the morning that gives you more of a pickup, more coming off your fast overnight and all that. You get your energy in there and you've got a little more to go on. And then vegetable juices in the afternoon. I never liked the superfood, the green drink with the vegetable juices. It was never my favorite. So I would always mix it with fruit juices even in the afternoon. And I had to make sure that I had a nice split between my veggie and my fruit juices when I would have my meals. When I was juice fasting and I had my superfood with the fruit juice, I had to make sure it was an hour before I had any more vegetable juice, or I would end up just bloated. And there were times before I got careful with that, it just felt like everything in here just wanted to explode. It really was painful. And if that happens, a really quick fix that I didn't know of in the beginning, but I know it now, is a teaspoon of LP and a teaspoon of digestive tonic and a little swallow of water. That just goes through and really helps clear that out. So just keep that in mind if you get yourself in trouble with mixing your fruits and veggies or something comes up. The LP and digestive tonic work really well to clear pretty much anything in the upper digestion. Anything from acid reflux to gas and bloating, all that. It's a quick fix, and it's not just going to make it go away, but it gets it passing so that the pressure goes away pretty quick, and you feel a little better, usually within a few minutes. So we have talked about echinacea. The reasons for using echinacea are to boost the immune system so the body can deal with the die-off that's being created. the waste that is being created by the detoxing program. An immune cell has to attach each piece of waste and neutralize it so the liver and the kidneys and the eliminative organs can move that waste out. Without enough immune cells, you are going to reabsorb that waste and you're going to feel like you've been run over by a Mack truck. That's where the term cleansing crisis and all those other bad terms with natural healing come into being, is running out of immune cells, which we don't want to do. So using your echinacea is vitally important, and supporting it is carrot juice. All right, let's go ahead and move on into the bowel cleansing. We're going to get into the food program more in depth after we deal with bowel cleansing. The bowels are the largest eliminative organ in the body. If the bowels are not open and moving well, you are not going to get well. You are just going to feel miserable. Everything you do is going to backlash on you. All the waste that you're trying to get rid of is going to be reabsorbed. All the work that the echinacea is doing is going to be for naught. If the waste can't get out, then nothing is going to get better. So the bowels open and moving is vitally important. The Lord knew this, and he gave us in nature some powerful herbs that work to open and clear the bowels. They're powerful, and yet they're not overwhelming if used correctly. We call it the lower bowel number 1 formula, which contains the Cascara sagrada and aloes and these things. These herbs do not work on the content of the bowel. They work on the structure of the bowel. The bowel is a big muscular structure, and the peristalsis of the bowel squeezes and kneads the waste through the body. Okay, when the peristalsis is too weak, and a lot of us, we've shut down our peristaltic motion through trauma, emotional trauma, refusing to go. Children, I mean, this starts back in childhood. Children will not poo at school. It's embarrassing. The smell is there. Society, I mean, the other kids will make fun of you if you do a big smelly in the bathroom. So these little kids are holding their poo until they get home, and by the time they get home, they don't got to go anymore. They are shutting down their peristalsis by not going when nature calls. You can do that. You can actually stop the peristalsis from doing its job and just hold that stuff inside of you and create an issue where your bowels just cease to function. So you have children from early kindergarten, first grade, second grade, who just are not using the bathroom at school because it's too embarrassing and they don't want to go there. So they get home and talk to your kids, find out, make sure that they're going. Because once they're out of diapers and they're not toddling around needing their bottoms wiped, you don't know how well they're doing anymore. It kind of slips away, and we don't always realize what the kids are up to or not up to. So keep an eye on your children, find out emotionally where they're at, and make sure that they're comfortable with themselves and with the facts of life, and that they can laugh off these fools that just won't go to the bathroom at school. But once this has happened and the peristaltic is not being used, it becomes weak. It's a muscle. This is a muscle that has to be kept toned. And this muscular tone is lost. For me, it was lost due to emotional trauma that I had. My peristaltic is really, really poor. That's just the outcome of the childhood abuse and all the stuff I went through. This is where my emotions are held, right there. And it just completely wrecked my peristaltic. I have to take between 15 and 20 capsules a day of the number 1 capsules, okay? I admit it publicly. Most people, the average is between 3 and 5. I've gotten down to 15 now. Even losing all this weight, it hasn't dropped them. as much as I would think it would have. But the healing is coming, and the Lord knows the work that needs to be done. So we just keep moving forward one step at a time. But just, I share that so that you know that there is really no limit to how many capsules you have to take. A woman that I'm currently working with, she was up to 30 capsules a day herself, and that was just to barely have any bowel movement. We added in, and I don't suggest you do this until you get your bowels working, but if you get your bowels working and you're at 20, 25, 30 capsules a day or worse, and there have been a few worse cases, here's a couple things that we can do to bring those numbers down a bit. Take a teaspoon of psyllium husk fiber one time a day in a glass of water. And then in the morning, do between 8 and 16 ounces of prune juice, depending on how lax your bowels are. Take your first cup of tea, whatever your hot tea is, drink that down, and then do either 8 to 16 ounces of prune juice every morning. This was given to me by a MD, natural MD doctor, who is still a member with us, and I love her to pieces. She's in her 80s now, but still active. She's a great lady. And when I was going through a really, really hard time, I called her up one day and I said, I just don't know what to do. I'm so sick of taking 30 pills a day. And so she gave me this hint. She says, okay, let's do a fiber, psyllium husk fiber, a teaspoon once a day in a glass of water, and then do your prune juice every morning. And it dropped me by 12 pills a day. So I was happy for that. That was better than what I was doing. So it's done better than that for some people, and other people it just depends on where you're at, but that's something that will help. But do not do that until your bowels are open and functioning well. Continue to increase the number one capsule a day, until your bowels are open and working well. So you get your bottle of capsules, you open it up with dinner that night, you take one capsule. And then if the next morning you're not clearing your bowels out and really moving well and everything is great, and you're having a good bowel movement after every major meal and one in the morning, then that night with dinner, you take 2 pills. And the next night you take 3 pills, and you continue to increase by 1 capsule a day until you find your magic number. It's usually somewhere between 3 and 5 capsules a day for most people. And like I say, there are some of us that get well over 10. And if it goes up beyond 15 or 20, give me a call. We'll see what we can do to bring those numbers down. It may be that once we get the liver flushing and doing some castor oil packs over the colon to get all that softened up, you have to realize that the colon is this rubber tube. And when you first get it going, you're squeezing it. So all of this waste is having to move out, and it's like hard mud around the inside of it. And so as you get the muscle tone working, it's got to work really hard to first crunch through that hard packed on stuff on the edge. You may just have a little hole in the middle where stuff can get out. And all around the inside of it is just this hard packed stuff. The muscle tone has to crunch it down, and it'll slough into the middle and flow out. Okay? When that work is first being done, that can take a few extra pills. I mean, that can really do. One way to get past that is to soften it up with a castor oil pack. So when you're first doing your detoxing it for your bowel and you're first taking your number ones, go ahead and spend a few nights with a castor oil pack over your colon. Put a heating pad on it before you go to bed at night, and just leave the pack on all night, and you'll be amazed at it. It will be like turning it from cement into soft mud. And it will just, the peristaltic can then work a little better, and it can move a little more effectively and just fluff the waste out. So don't discount the castor oil pack over the colon when you're starting your bowel cleansing. The other thing that works really well for those who will do it, and I don't kid myself, it is not fun, is doing enemas. And there is a lot of support out there online for doing high enemas, for learning how to do high enemas and all of this. I'm not going to get into that on this one, but getting the water all the way to the appendix and then letting that flush out once every morning while you're first getting yourself cleared out is really good to do a high enema like that. And I find that putting catnip and skullcap in the final one, a tablespoon of catnip and a heaping tablespoon of skullcap herb, they're both flaky like peppermint leaves. I put that in a mason jar with 32 ounces of water, hot water the night before, and I just set that on the back of the toilet and let it steep all night with a saucer over the top. Don't screw a lid on, you'll have a heck of a time getting it off with the hot. Just put a saucer over the top to keep the nutrients in the bottle. And then the next morning, after you get your bowel completely cleared out, put that in your last enema that you insert and hold it until you can't hold it anymore. That is going to cause you to have a liver dump. It actually, I find that more effective than a coffee enema. And my opinions of coffee enemas are very, very low. The coffee enema is very dangerous to your endocrine system. There is no breakdown of that caffeine, and it just goes in and supercharges. It's like a train wreck into your endocrine system. When you drink coffee through your mouth, it goes into your liver and it gets neutralized and knocked down a bit. When you take it rectally, it just goes through and slams into your whole endocrine system, and your endocrine system is a fine factory system of very intricate wiring and all that good stuff, and it doesn't need a train wreck. And so coffee enemas can be overpowering to the endocrine system, and they're also highly addictive. Coming off of them can give you horrible migraines and headaches just coming off that caffeine. Skullcap and catnip will give you much the same effect without the side effects from the caffeine. And an additional thought on that is a few years back, I read an article that was put out there. I can't remember where it came from, but some college students had decided it would be fun to get drunk rectally. And they actually inserted the whiskey into their rectums. One of them died of alcohol poisoning on less than a fifth of whiskey. There is no breakdown, no barrier. It just goes straight in, and you are instantly drunk. When you take alcohol in through your rectum, you are instantly drunk. It is instantly in your blood, and you're toast. So that just is, I just share that with you so you know that, yes, it goes in. We can use that to advantage when somebody needs nutrients. You can actually feed a young child or an invalid rectally of superfood and juices, and they will go instantly into the bloodstream and provide nutrition and hydration into the body rectally. So, you know, we can use the the colon as a way of absorbing nutrients and getting nutrients into somebody who's having a hard time getting them down. A child who is vomiting, who has diarrhea and is becoming dehydrated, you can actually hydrate them rectally. So use, you know, all of these things are available to us, and it's all good, but we have to use wisdom in what we're doing. Intestinal number 2 is, it's got your bentonite clay, your charcoal, your psyllium husk fiber, marshmallow, all this stuff that goes in and just draws the toxins out of the bowel. And think of it as a bowel vacuum. It just draws waste out from the throat to the rectum, pulling the waste out, and it is binding. The intestinal number 2 is binding. On the I'll get into the 911 use of it in a moment, but first let's just get it established as part of the cleansing process. When you are doing any sort of healing program, you want your bowels to be cleared and cleansing and to be able to keep the toxins moving out. So at least doing a week of bowel cleansing is a good idea. When you're doing the incurables program for a major disease, you're going to be establishing the bowel cleansing, including the number 2, and continuing it throughout the whole healing process. So you will be taking a teaspoon of the intestinal number 2 every 3 waking hours. The easiest way to remember that is 3, 6, 9, and 12. If you're awake for 3, 6, 9, or 12, you take some number 2. You put it, you get yourself a little shaker glass or a little jelly jar or something that holds about 6 to 8 ounces of water, and you just put your teaspoon in there, shake it up, and drink it down. It doesn't taste like anything. It's just black. So if you're dealing with a small child or something, put it in a glass that you can't see through with a sipper seal on top of it and shake that up. If they don't see that it's black, you can add it to orange juice or anything like that. It will change the flavor. They won't even know they're drinking black. Those who will be picky about what it looks like, you can mask the flavor very easily in juice and just put it inside of a cup that you can't see through, and they won't know that they're drinking something black. But for the rest of us, you just put it in there and shake it up. Don't try to stir it. It won't stir. But shake it up, drink it down, and you're done. When I was doing it and I had to run around or go out or whatever, I would just take little pieces of a bag and put a dose in, like a sandwich bag, and I'd put a dose in the corner, twist it off, and tie it off with a twisty or something, and drop that in. Just tear those pieces off and drop them in the jar so that I could just rip them open and do my dosing while I was out. And I just had a bottle of water with me, so it was very easy to keep up with my number 2 when I was out and about. If you miss a dose, it's not the end of the world. Try not to. The better you do, the better it is. But you will miss doses here and there, and just let it go. But try to keep up with 1 teaspoon every 3 hours of the intestinal number 2. And that is when you begin using the intestinal number 2. Let's say that you are doing your number 1s, you get up to 5 capsules a day, your bowels are moving really good that day, everything's going great, you're having a bowel movement after every major meal, you're emptying well, it's all going good. So you go, okay, tomorrow I get to start my number 2. My bowels are open, it's all moving. So that night you take an extra number 1 capsule, 1 more than you would normally need. Because number 2 is binding. And then the next morning you take your teaspoon of number 2 formula at 6 or 9, whenever you get up, and you continue throughout the day using it. If you get to the end of the day and you go, you know what, my bowels are really tight today, take an extra one, an extra number 1 again. Nothing is written in stone. If your bowels are too tight, take more number 1s. If your bowels are too loose, drop a pill. You know, if you, and you'll find that there's a cycle that goes on, because when you're getting liver dumps, when the liver is dumping into, there's no fiber in liver dumps. When the liver is cleansing itself and throwing its waste into the colon overnight, there is no fiber in that. It's like cement sludge, and it can be really heavy to move. So when your liver is being very active and you're really detoxing well, and you're doing your liver flushing and all of that, your bowels can get really tight, and you may have to increase by a pill or extra, 1 or 2 extra pills, capsules. And then you get to your kidney flushing, and you back off your liver flushing, and you find that your bowels are a little overactive. Well, drop a pill. You know, just whatever. Keep yourself comfortable. You're in charge. And if you find that you've overused the intestinal number 2, okay, we will now explain how the number 2 is used for 911 emergencies. Okay, the intestinal number 2 is our 911 emergency for vomiting and diarrhea. And it works beautifully and quite quickly. When you have Montezuma's revenge, and that's when you don't know whether to bend over or sit down, the intestinal number 2 is going to be very, very helpful. What you do when you've got active vomiting going on, whether food poisoning or whatever is going on, you take a heaping tablespoon, and this is the adult dose, you would cut it down to a child size. You take a heaping tablespoon of number 2 in 12 ounces, 12 to 16 ounces of water. You shake it up and you just drink it down. Yes, it's going to come back up. But when it does, it's going to be like applesauce, which is a heck of a lot better than what you've been throwing up. But what it does while it's in your stomach is it absorbs all that acidity. It absorbs the reason that your stomach was wanting to purge. So once it gets all that absorbed, you hold it down as long as you can. You just take and hang on to that number 2 for as long as you can. And once it comes up, it will have cleared the bacteria, the waste, whatever it is from your tummy that's making you want to vomit. Your tummy will then settle down. You can then use a teaspoon of LP and digestive tonic to quickly settle your tummy. If you don't have those two, digestive tonic by itself. If you don't have either one of those, an ounce of juiced ginger root. If you don't have that, peppermint tea will work. It would be the degrees of strength. My favorite is LP and digestive tonic together. Is the most powerful anti-nausea, anti-whatever in your upper digestion that I know of. Setting that aside, digestive tonic by itself, which is peppermint, ginger, fennel, and peppermint oil, is wonderful for stopping nausea. Not having that, some juiced ginger root is great. Not having that, peppermint tea. You know, it's just a strong peppermint tea will help settle the tummy. So once you get the waste out of the tummy, you can then settle the tummy. You can't bother settling it while the bacteria and all that waste is still in it. You've got to get the number 2 down and get that absorbed and get that out of the tummy so that you can actually settle the tummy. All right. On the other end of that, the diarrhea. If you are passing water from your bowels, if you are pooping water, unintentionally, we're not talking a prune juice flush or something where we did it on purpose to cleanse the bowels. We are talking food poisoning or some negative thing that we were not expecting. Use a tablespoon of intestinal number 2 episodally. Episodally means when it happens. So, and normally 1 or 2 doses and your bowels will bind back up and you'll be good. But a rounded tablespoon episodally will normally clear watery bowels. If you're crampy or you're just passing waste, but it's real crampy and loose and it's not intentional and it's miserable, a rounded teaspoon will usually solidify the bowel in like 5 minutes or so and in that episode. And if one time doesn't work, do it again. It works really well. And you will find that when you've been using the intestinal number 1 for an extended period of time, which you will use it until you don't need it, as your bowel gets stronger, as the peristalsis increases in strength because you're forcing it to be used more effectively, when the chemistry in the number 1 capsule comes in line with the bowel, it makes it work more effectively. It makes that peristalsis move more effectively. So you're actually strengthening the muscular tone of your bowel when you use these herbs. Okay, as the bowel gets stronger, your need for the number 1s is going to drop down. It could just be a gradual thing where one day, you know, your bowels are just a little overactive and so you drop a pill. It may come at you quick. Your bowel just wake up one day and you take your regular number 1s. Let's say you were taking 10 of them and your bowel decides to wake up and you're just cramping. I mean, you're telling the Lord, I'm ready to come home, Father. This hurts too much to stay here. And I've been there. It's miserable. The intestinal number 2 will clear that up in just a few minutes. Take a heaping teaspoon of that and shake it down and you'll be off the toilet pretty quick. It will solidify the bowel, stop the cramping, and then cut down how many number 1s you're using. You obviously do not need that many anymore. Your bowels have gotten stronger and they don't need that much help. So That is the intestinal number one and the intestinal number two. Now talk about the other side of constipation. Let's talk about Crohn's disease and those issues where diarrhea is, and this is in a very small percentage, but when we're dealing with somebody who has Crohn's or colitis or irritable bowel syndrome, sometimes we have to back into the program. You start with number two. When somebody has one of those issues where their bowels are overactive, and they're having diarrhea all day long, and they've got ulcers in there and all this stuff going on. Okay, we do not start them on number ones. That would rip them apart. They start with the intestinal number two formula. They get that bowel conciliated, and they get the diarrhea under control. Once they get all that under control and they get their bowel conciliated, they may or may not need to use number one capsules. Their peristaltics may be strong enough after all that diarrhea working and all that movement for so many years or whatever it's been. They may not need to use number one. They just may need to use the number two to heal the bowel. Most of the time, though, when you're using the number two on a regular basis, you have to take at least one number one capsule because it's so binding that even in somebody with serious issues, irritable bowel going on, it will block them up too much. So my goodness, it's coming down sheets out there. We're in the middle of a major thunderstorm here. For those people, we back into it. We start with the number two, and then if needed, the number one is added. I always make sure that they have number ones on hand so that if they get themselves bound up, they've got a way to unbind themselves. But in cases with irritable bowel, with Crohn's, and some of these issues where there's a lot of diarrhea involved, we address that first, and then we come into the number ones if they're needed. The reason that nutrition is so important, and we started to touch on this when we were talking about the echinacea, what makes the nutrition so important is the master herbs and the detoxing and all this that we're using to heal the body. These go into the body and they target the areas that they affect. Okay, there's a master herb in nature for every function and every organ of the body. These master herbs have nutrients and nutrition that affects those areas that they target. An example would be hawthorn for the heart. Hawthorn is the master herb for the heart. It actually has the enzymes that attach to heart cells that allow them to absorb more oxygen. So in the case of a heart attack, the heart muscle will not be as damaged. It also has nutrients and nutrition that feed and help repair heart tissue, the heart cells. So the liver would be the master overall herb for the liver is milk thistle. It protects, it's a liver protectorant, it's an immune builder, it has a lot of properties, but it's the master herb for the liver. And we can go through the body and there's so many of them. But, excuse me. The main point here is that the master herbs do not carry in the copious nutrients that are needed for them to do the work they're capable of doing. It would be a little bit like sending a master builder off to build your house and never providing him the 2x4s, the wood to build the structure, to hang everything else on. The plumber can come in and he can't do his pipes. The electrician can come in and he can't hang his wires until the 2x4s are up. That is the raw nutrition that is needed for all the other workers to do what they need to do. They need the nutrients and nutrition at cellular level so that they can do the rebuilding, the cleansing, the work that they are capable of doing. The way that we accomplish this in a very sick body, the most energy consuming process that is done is the hydrochloric bath that the body makes that digests and breaks down food and pulls the nutrients out. Okay, this is an extreme energy consuming process to make this hydrochloric bath. If your liver is backed up, if your liver is clogged up, you are not secreting the bile that is needed to produce and to make a strong hydrochloric bath. If the pancreas is debilitated, it's not doing its part to make that hydrochloric bath. So what do we do when you are eating food? You may be eating a perfectly good food program, chewing and swallowing it. It's going down into your stomach and hitting water to get digested. You're not getting any of the nutrients and nutrition out of that. It's just going straight through you, and you're not getting any benefits at cellular level. The way that we bypass that is by juicing. Juicing bypasses the hydrochloric bath. It goes straight into the blood. When you juice, when you chew and swallow food, you get maybe 28, 29% of those nutrients at cellular level. When you juice that same carrot, you get excess of 98% of the nutrients at cellular level. It just cuts it off at the knees and starts building. So juicing is the way that we begin to build up somebody's body and nutrition, is by juicing and by supporting the body to be able to absorb nutrients more effectively. One of the ways to build a stronger hydrochloric bath is apple cider vinegar. A tablespoon of apple cider vinegar about 15 minutes before a meal will help make a stronger hydrochloric bath. Another thing that a lot of people don't realize is if you are a gum chewer, you need to not chew gum before meals. The only time that it is acceptable to chew gum is right after you eat. Whenever you are chewing that gum, your body sets up a hydrochloric bath. So if you chew gum and no food comes down, you have just wasted all that energy to make that hydrochloric bath. And by the time that you're ready to actually eat and you start chewing and swallowing food, there's nothing but water there. Your body does not have the energy or the nutrients to keep producing a bath every time you decide to chew a stick of gum. Excuse me. So chewing gum, if you like to chew your gum after you eat to freshen your breath or whatever, that's fine. 15, 20 minutes after you eat, fine. Before you eat, do not do it. You are destroying your ability to digest your food.
Sarah, how much?
Yes.
How much apple cider vinegar did you say?
About a tablespoon.
Okay.
I usually do a glug, which is between a tablespoon and an ounce. I'm terrible about measuring that. I just pour a glug into my glass, and it's somewhere between a tablespoon and an ounce. But a tablespoon is what most people say. And that is going to go in there and help make a stronger hydrochloric bath. It also helps clean those filters, which are your kidneys. So drinking your apple cider vinegar is going to be like flushing your kidneys also. It's good on many levels. I have a drink that is called hot lemonade, and it's not mine. I mean, somebody else created it years and years ago, I'm sure. But what I do, and I drink this every morning, is when I come off my first drink in the day is normally 32 ounces of water to rehydrate, and it will have apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, a teaspoon of cayenne, and for those who can afford it, you can put maple syrup in there, and it tastes really good. I don't use the maple syrup. I don't want the calories. But it's delicious, and it's called hot lemonade, and you work up to your cayenne. The cayenne is for circulation. This is like a mini kidney flush every morning, just flushing those kidneys through, and the cayenne is just energy in a bottle. It just juices you up and gets your day going. It's an excellent morning drink to rehydrate on. When you first begin drinking this drink, you take that first swallow, you swish it around in your mouth, get your body used to it. And anytime that you drink apple cider vinegar, do not glug it down. You swish it around in your mouth, let your stomach know it's coming, or it can bend you over. I have taken it down quickly and been bent over the sink with spasms in my tummy when I was in a hurry anyways. And It was a dumb thing to do. You let your body know it's coming. Just kind of swish it around in your mouth and light up your mouth with the taste. And then you can swallow. And you only got to do that with 1 or 2 swallows, and then you can drink it down pretty good. But that's just a precautionary note to drinking cayenne drinks or apple cider vinegar drinks. All right, so juicing provides the nutrients at cellular level for your body to rebuild from. And the way that you bypass a degraded digestive system and begin to rebuild is with fresh juices. So when you have a major issue going on with your body, the energy that your body needs to digest food and to process it needs to be used to get rid of the disease and the issues in your body. So eating is really not the best idea. When you have a major issue going on in your body, you want to go to juice fasting. And you know, don't kid yourself. Don't say, okay, I'm just going to juice fast. I've got cancer. I've got whatever. You need to set yourself up to win. So you juice fast for maybe 5 days a week and eat raw on the weekends. Whatever it takes. I mean, if you have a major issue, you need to be juice fasting constantly for probably 3 to 5 months. If the doctor says you're supposed to be dead in 6 months, well, it's time just to juice fast until you turn that corner and he changes his mind. And you clear that out of your system. But you've got to rebuild, and juicing is the only way to do it. But set yourself up to win. I mean, promise yourself, okay, what I've done in the past, I did a 40-day juice fast several years back. And I told myself at the beginning of it that if I wanted to stop, I could. You know, there was no rule that said I couldn't stop if I wanted to. But there was one thing first. Before I would break my juice fast and eat anything, I had to chew down 1 glass of juice. And it worked every time, just took all the cravings for food away and all that. And by chewing down a glass of juice, I mean, you take a little swallow in your mouth, you swish it around in your mouth, you taste that juice, make it one that you really like, which is one of my fruit juices. And you just swish that around in your mouth and you really enjoy it, and you just chew it down. You let your teeth get involved. You just chew that drink down. And by the time I was done, it took me like 15 minutes to drink it. And it was probably a 32-ounce glass of juice. That was a big glass of juice. By the time I got that down, I wasn't hungry anymore and I was satisfied. So it got me past it. So set yourself up to win. Give yourself permission. Okay, if I really, really need to eat, I'll eat a raw salad or something raw in the day. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to make you dead in 6 months. If you really need to eat, to chew and swallow something, there is comfort in chewing and swallowing food. I mean, it's emotional. It's emotional comfort. There's a part of us that really wants to chew and swallow something. So try your juices first. And if that doesn't work, allow yourself a little salad, something green, something easy to digest, not cooked food. Cooked food, no. But something raw that you really can just chew and swallow down and enjoy. And don't beat yourself up over it. Just do better the next day. You know, get yourself worked back up into it. But 5 days a week on the Incurables program, Monday through Friday, you will be juice fasting on your liver flushing week. And if you have a major issue, you will also juice fast Monday through Friday on your kidney flushing week. And on the weekends, you can then graduate to eating raw food. And coming off your kidney flush week, if you really, really want to eat something cooked, which if you have a major issue, I don't suggest it. But if you're just doing some good deep cleansing and you're wanting to keep this up, fine, have a little brown rice or baked potato with your raw salad one day on the weekend. And then you have to step up and step down from juice fasting. So it takes 1 day. For 5 days off, you need 1 day eating raw, and then you can eat cooked. And then you have to have another day of eating raw to go back to juice fasting. Does everyone get that concept? You step up and step down. If you just go straight into eating cooked food from a juice fast, you are going to crash really bad. Your body is going to react like you just put toxins into it. You can do anything from have diarrhea to actually be vomiting. You have gotten yourself so alkaline, and then you just throw all that acidity from cooked food in on top of it, and it can make you really sick. So you treat yourself nice. You step up and step down. You introduce the raw food back. And if you do an extended juice fast, let's say that you're juice fasting for 4 to 6 weeks, you will be eating raw for half that time. So if you were juice fasting for 6 weeks, for 3 weeks, you go to a raw food program. And then you introduce just 1 baked potato or 1 cup of brown rice. And those are the 2 best foods to reintroduce that I have found. If somebody else has something that has worked better for them, definitely toss it in. But the brown rice and the baked potato with some cooked vegetables, steamed vegetables, whatever, tends to be a really good place to go back to eating again. And you just eat it one time. You're still juicing. You're still drinking your juices and stuff. You do not cut the juices out when you go back to the raw food. You just cut down how much you're drinking, and you allow yourself to have the raw food. So you keep your nutrition up while you're graduating back into being able to eat. But remember, when you have done an extended juice fast, you will need to break it with half that period done as raw food before you can introduce cooked food back again. And just let your body get used to that. And that's one reason that, if at all possible, I like breaking up the juice fasting on the weekends by eating raw food. It just keeps that broken up where you don't have that big, long, extended thing. But when you're dealing with a life and death situation, you just have to bite the bullet and go the distance and then come off of it slowly. So any questions on juice fasting?